Before we begin today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our newest subscribers, Alan Cantu Gonzalez. I apologize if I pronounced your middle name incorrectly, Alan, but thank you for subscribing, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Erland. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drahan, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Conversion. In this series, we are going over the characters from the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons video game, Iron and Blood, Warriors of Ravenloft, as part of a viewer request. Now, they didn't specify which character they wanted, so we are going to go over all 16 characters. There are 8 heroes and 8 villains. And today we are doing the third of the heroes. Erland, the Elven Archer. Now, Erland is a special case. Like I've said previously, a lot of these characters have contradictory segments in their lore and abilities. Makes them seem like they're one race or class, but they're actually a different class, sometimes even a separate race entirely. And that goes for Erland. Now, right off the rip, you would probably assume a ranger, and I did for the longest time as well. But there is a small catch. Erland knew the spell of flame arrows, a ranger spell, and fire shield, which is not a ranger spell. No. You're probably thinking, well, that's a druid spell. You should just go with a druid. The thing is, I almost did, but Erland is an archer, and there is nothing in his lore about druids besides them helping him take down a sorcerer that was destroying the forest he lived in. So that's off the table. On top of that, there's no ability to shape change into an animal. Not even the one instance of a character I thought was a druid does not have an ability to change into an animal. But we'll get to that when that character comes around. For Erland, we need an archer that just so happens to also be able to cast spells. And I think I found it. So let's go ahead and get started with the point buy system. Strength is going to be a 12, dexterity a 15, constitution and charisma will each be a 10, with intelligence and wisdom each being a 13. Erland is an elf, more specifically a wood elf, which is going to give us a size of medium, a speed of 35 feet, dark vision of 60 feet, Fey ancestry, trance, mask of the wild, and proficiencies in longsword, short sword, longbow, and shortbow, as well as the perception skill and the languages of Coven and Elven. For our ability boost, go ahead and increase dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom each by 1, thanks to the rules presented in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. For our background, we're going to go ahead and go with the Outlander. This is somewhat explained in Erland's lore. He is a Outlander, a wanderer, which is the feature of the Outlander. You get proficiencies in skills of athletics and survival, 1 musical instrument of choice, and language of Dwarvish. If you are going to go with a first level feat, I would recommend the feat known as Skilled, giving us proficiencies in 3 skills of our choice. We're going with nature, animal handling, and medicine. Now, for our class. A lot of you have probably already deduced that if we are not going with a ranger, but we still need to be able to shoot things with a bow, we need to be a fighter. This will give us a D10 hit die, starting hit points of 10 plus our Constitution modifier, with extra hit points equal to 1d10 plus our Constitution modifier per fighter level after the first. For our proficiencies, we'll be trained in all armor and shields, as well as simple and martial weapons. Saving throws are going to be in strength and constitution, with our 2 skills being acrobatics and insight. For our fighting style, we are of course going with archery, and we also get access to Second Wind. At 2nd level, we get access to Action Surge. And at 3rd level is our martial archetype, which is where we start to get into our spells, because we are going with the martial archetype of our Eldritch Knight. This will give us access to spellcasting using our intelligence modifier and weapon bond. Moving on to level 4, we are going to go for the feat of Sharpshooter. Since we are an archer, it makes the most sense to have this feat. Going over to level 5, we now have access to extra attack. And moving on to level 6, we're going with the feat of Tavern Brawler. Mostly for access to proficiency in improvised weapons, but our unarmed strikes also get a D4 in damage. But I mainly wanted to go for it for that improvised weapon proficiency, since a lot of Erland's fighting style isn't just shooting arrows with his bow, but knocking people upside the head with his bow, which counts as an improvised weapon attack, according to the rules. Finally, when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon on your turn, use a bonus action to attempt to grapple the target. Pretty neat ability to have. Moving on to level 7, thanks to our Eldritch Knight subclass, we get access to War Magic. Moving on to level 8, Fighter. Whenever we make these sharpshooter builds, we always want to go ahead and grab Piercer to go alongside the sharpshooter feat. This will increase our strength by 1 point and give us the ability to re-roll one of the attack's damage die on an attack that deals piercing damage. But we must use the new roll. And if we hit a critical hit that deals piercing damage, we can roll 1 additional damage die when determining the extra piercing damage the target takes. So pretty useful. Basically getting access to a brutal critical for our ranged weapon attacks, or technically anything that deals piercing damage. Moving on to a level 9 Fighter, we get access to Indomitable. At level 10, we get access to Eldritch Strike. At level 11, we now get extra attack times 2, letting us attack 3 times per attack action. At level 12 Fighter, go ahead and increase your dexterity by 2 points. At level 13, you get 2 uses of your Indomitable feature. At level 14, go ahead and increase your dexterity to 20. At level 15, you get Arcane Charge. Level 16, go ahead and increase your intelligence by 2 points. Level 17, you get 2 uses of Action Surge, and you now have 3 uses of Indomitable. At level 18, you get Improved War Magic. At level 19, go ahead and increase your intelligence by 2 points, making it an 18 using this system. And finally, level 20, you now have 3 uses of your attack action, letting you attack 4 times per attack action. And that is it for today's build, but not the end of the video, as we still have to go over Erland spells. For spells, I would recommend the following. For cantrips, we have Toll the Dead, Booming Blade, and Fire Bolt. Your first level spells, I would recommend Catapult, Frost Fingers, Mage Armor, Magic Missile, Shield, and Tasha's Caustic Brew. At second level, we have Agonizer's Scorcher, Acid Arrow, Scorching Ray, and Shadow Blade. Third level spells, we get Flame Arrows and Counterspell, and for 4th level, we get Fire Shield. Now, I am putting these recommendations here because I went over the spells that are able to be accessed by the Eldritch Knight, which are abjuration spells and evocation spells. However, at certain levels, the Eldritch Knight can pick spells outside of those two schools of magic. And at other levels, you are able to switch those spells in and out with whatever spells you please, so long as it's only the spells that you gained during the levels where you could gain spells outside of abjuration and evocation spells. So that is why we have things like catapult and even counterspell. Now, that being said, that is all for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed Erland. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and tell me who is your favourite character from the Iron and Blood series. Until next time, this has been Drahan, and I am offline.